Growing up is awkward. Teenagers are expected to suddenly understand emotions, attraction, identity, relationships, and adulthood, often with very little honest conversation around any of it. And yet, TV shows and movies constantly joke about teenage awkwardness and private behavior. Some portray it seriously, some turn it into comedy, some exaggerate it completely. One topic that repeatedly appears in media is masturbation during adolescence, something that is often treated as embarrassing in real life, but exaggerated on-screen for humor or shock value. So why does this happen? And what's actually happening psychologically during teenage years? Today, I want to look at the science behind adolescent curiosity, the psychology of growing up, and why television portrays these experiences so often. During puberty, the brain and body go through major changes. Hormones increase rapidly, emotions become more intense, and teenagers begin developing a stronger awareness of attraction, identity, and relationships. At the same time, the brain's reward system becomes more active during adolescence. This means curiosity, emotions, and impulses can feel stronger than they did during childhood. For many teenagers, exploring their changing bodies becomes part of understanding these changes. Psychologists generally consider this a normal part of adolescent development. But despite that, many teenagers grow up hearing only jokes, embarrassment, or silence around these topics. As a result, many end up learning through social media, television, internet culture, or misinformation instead of honest conversations. What often makes adolescence stressful is not just physical change. It's confusion. Teenagers deal with pressure from school, friendships, appearance standards, social media, loneliness, and fear of judgment. And because conversations about private habits and sexual development are often treated as embarrassing, many teenagers feel uncomfortable asking honest questions. This creates guilt and secrecy around experiences that are actually very common. At the same time, balance and self-awareness are important. Anything connected to the brain's reward system can become unhealthy if it starts negatively affecting sleep, focus, mental health, relationships, or daily life. That's why understanding and moderation matter more than fear or shame. Shows like Sex Education, Big Mouth, and Euphoria often focus heavily on teenage awkwardness because adolescence itself is emotionally intense and confusing. Writers use these moments to explore insecurity, loneliness, social pressure, embarrassment, identity, and growing up. Sometimes these portrayals are realistic. Sometimes they're exaggerated for humor or shock value. The issue is that media often presents only extremes. Either everything is treated as shameful, or everything is treated casually without consequences. Real life is usually much more complicated than either version. Most teenagers are simply trying to understand themselves while dealing with pressure from every direction. I think the bigger issue is not adolescent curiosity itself. It's the lack of honest conversations about growing up. Teenagers are expected to suddenly become mature while being given very little space to openly discuss emotions, confusion, attraction, identity, or mental health. And maybe that's why media discussions feel so loud in comparison. Growing up has always been awkward. Maybe conversations about it should focus less on shame and more on understanding.